recognize some of the finest minds in the Indian strategic community who are present in this auditorium today. My colleague and friend, the Mayor of Chandigarh, Shri Kuldeep Singh Dellore, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, may I congratulate General Shergill and all the organizers of the 8th iteration of this Military Literature Festival for creating this wonderful space where ideas can be incubated, experiences can be shared, perspectives can be shaped, and the future can be gazed into. General Shergill was absolutely correct when he said that possibly a literature festival of this nature is absolutely unique to this country, and Chandigarh is of course privileged to host it. General Shergill of course has been an innovator across the board. The anchor of this program had mentioned a program which he had incubated called the Guardians of Governance, and as someone who till 6 months ago had represented a predominantly rural constituency called Sri Anandpur Sahib, I can personally vouch for the fact that the Guardians of Governance was an efficacious instrument of both feedback and intervention at the micro level. And it's unfortunate that a program which was so imaginative, unfortunately could not surmount the barriers of parties and politics. But be that as it may, this Military Literature Festival couldn't have had a more apt theme. Wars under the nuclear umbrella. And I was struck by the fact that how this particular theological dilemma has really lingered with us over a period of time. As I remember one of the first presentations which the former Chief of the Army Staff, General Malik, had made to an audience at the Observer Research Foundation in 2003 was about space for a limited war under a nuclear overhang. And 21 years later, that is the theme for the latest iteration of this military festival, which just shows as to how real and existential this dilemma is. Let me just give you the 5 big headlines which are going to shape the future of humankind at least over the next foreseeable 2 decades. For the first time after the end of the Second World War and post the Cold War getting recessed in 1991, this is for the first time that 3 concurrent conflicts are playing themselves out across 3 continents of the world. You have the Russian-Ukrainian situation, which goes back to the February of 2022. You have the Israel-Hamas / Hezbollah / Houthis / Iran conflict, which is notwithstanding the recent ceasefire day before yesterday, really convulsing the Middle East. And of course you have the lingering tensions in the South China Sea and the East China Sea, which now go back to 2012, the rise of Xi Jinping as the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. and the President of China. Each of them individually have the ability to shape or reshape the world order. But collectively, they are definitely going to have profound implications on the specter of unipolarity / some semblance of multipolarity that we've seen since 2001. So, the question is, has the old order passed its? And since the new is yet to be born, are we in the age of monsters? And which are these monsters which India would have to tame first? The second big headline is, what General Chairman alluded to when he was introducing the sessions, and we'll speak more about it in the next session, that there's a loose alliance of nuclear weapon states and quasi-nuclear weapon states, which has emerged across the top and the center of Asia, stretching from North Asia to West Asia, encompassing the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Russia, China, Pakistan, and Iran. You see a convergence of interests, which will, in the next decade, be India's biggest security dilemma. How do we really confront it, deal with it, surmount it, is something which is going to be a serious challenge for our policy planners and strategic thinkers. The third big headline is that you will see the inexorable decline of Russia over the next 10 years. And the reason I say this is, when you put your country into a war economy, the implications of that war economy are so profound that when things start even quietening down, or you have a status quo ante, the impact of that lingers. And that was precisely one of the reasons why, despite winning the Second World War, the people in Great Britain actually chose to replace Winston Churchill, because they needed a leader, a peacetime leader, who could rebuild the British economy after the ravages of the Second World War. So, the vacuum that the inexorable decline of Russia is going to bring about, how that vacuum is going to be filled, who are the actors who are going to occupy that space, is it going to be China alone, or will it be China plus, are questions I think Indian strategic thinkers and planners need to very seriously ask themselves. The fourth, of course, is the large geoeconomics question. Gold is back. In the year 2008, when the great economic meltdown took place, central banks around the world collectively held only 5% of the gold reserves of the world. In 2024, that figure has gone up to 12.1%. And the countries which are the most aggressive gold buyers are China, India, and Turkey. Now, are we going to see the de-dollarization of the global economy? And if there is going to be a de-dollarization of the global economy, even over the next 2 decades, then what are going to be the modes and mechanisms of international transactions, bilateral and multilateral trade, flows of goods and services, which is really going to come into place? Will the alternative mechanisms which BRICS is thinking about really come to fruition? And this is the one seminal thing, the rise of gold, The insecurity which these three concurrent conflicts have caused is something which I think, in addition to economists, even geopolitical thinkers need to apply themselves to. And the final headline is that the fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, genomics, robotics, the Internet of Things, is going to have a profound impact on the revolution in military affairs. The battlefield is already not looking what it used to be maybe even 5 years back. And as global militaries move from being an informationized paradigm to an intelligence-sized template, how does India actually make that transition, given the fact that we are in the process of reorganizing our higher defense mechanisms and setups, is something which the collective institutional wisdom which is present in this hall today must address itself to. And finally, to the Governor of Punjab, I have a specific request to make. The Military Literature Festival not only is an extravaganza that plays itself out over 2 or 3 days. It actually is a space where ideas are not only incubated, but policy prescriptions which can be fed into the national strategic discourse are deliberated upon, but unfortunately they get lost somewhere in the ether. The Military Literature Festival needs to find a permanent home. It needs to transform itself into a permanent think tank. And there can be no better place than Chandigarh, which has a panoply of this institutional wisdom available. There cannot be a better place to host a think tank which originates out of the Military Literature Festival. I would request the Governor of Punjab, who is also the administrator of Chandigarh, to seriously apply himself to this. And the General Chair, without your leave, I thought I would take this leap of faith. But thank you very much for inviting me, and we look forward to great deliberations over the next 2 years.